Taurus, welcome back to your full moon, new moon in Pisces, reading for February 19th, 20th of 2023. You have the moon, so this should be a significant moon for you. It's certainly going to affect you. But the moon is the subconscious. It can be things that we don't see clearly. And it can really ignite your imagination. So it can bring up fears that you have to deal with. And I think that's the purpose of the moon, because otherwise it's the deep subconscious. We won't look at it. But when the moon comes along, we kind of have to face our fears then. And it's a good opportunity to do that, to face your fears, to look them straight in the eye, to deal with it, and then it doesn't have a hold on you anymore. Even though this is a new moon and new moons bring in new cycles, you can still be dealing with those internal deep subconscious fears or not see things very clearly. And things can get kind of weird with the moon. And especially for Taurus, because they are such earthbound people and very practical, the moon is weirdness. It's the strange. And so it can feel maybe a little bit uncomfortable, but who's to say? Maybe you can just be really psychic or intuitive during these 2 weeks. But this is the theme for the next 2 weeks. The new moon brings in new cycles, so let's see how this is going to be affecting you. Okay. You have 10 of Pentacles. This is the daily card for me. It's the people that you see at the grocery store, people at work, community at large, your village, just the people that you see as you're walking down the street, the people that you deal with every day, your dailies. But it's the conversations that you have with these people that bring it like a richness to your life. It is wealth. It's a lot of money. It's inheritance. But it's more like legacy, what you leave behind, what you leave for the community at large, for the world at large, for your household, for your family at large, that kind of energy. And tens are also the ending of one cycle, the beginning of something simultaneously. So you're ending something while you're beginning something new. For me, this is also very much a communication card. But you see, you have the different ages, right? The grandfather, the parents, the children, the pets. The children, there it is. And sort of what you communicate within these different age groups, these different types of people. The communication is key here. Let's see. And you have the World, Major Arcana. Okay. So there is this feeling of a cycle finishing up for you. And the World is sort of finishing up those little things before we move on to something else. It is this sort of protective spiritual box while you're doing it. So you kind of maybe even feel a little bit isolated. Maybe not this time because there's community here with the 10 of Pentacles, but it can also be that you feel a little bit isolated within the community. Or you isolate yourself to a community. I'm dealing with this portion of the community and that's it. It can also be that. But the World is really like the big graduation card. And onto a higher level, a new way of thinking. That purple robe, I don't think it's even that, but it is, it's coming forward to me. And purple is the higher mind. Purple is the spiritual. We're going to get more information on that, but I do want to point that out because it's coming towards me, and I feel like it is sort of a protective shield. I don't know if you are being protected by somebody who's passed away. That's possible. But it's a very high frequency. It's your third eye, so it's connection to something higher. And I do feel like you're leveling up here. The moon can mean that you don't quite see it yet, or there's some kind of haze between finishing up a cycle and moving to the next one. Maybe you don't know what it is yet, or maybe you don't have all the information about it. So it's a little bit, there's a little bit of fogginess with it. This illusion, the idea of illusion with the moon also means that maybe something within the family or the community and even the world at large, there's something elusive about it. Like you're not getting all the information. And maybe that's why the world is protecting you here. Maybe that's why you're sort of in this protective spiritual box until you find out more or all of the information. You can't move forward to the next cycle until you kind of get that information, or until that information drops. Okay, so this is you and how you are dealing with it. This is definitely somebody in search of information. So yeah, maybe that does, the information hasn't quite dropped yet. You don't have all of the information just yet. You may have a good majority of it, but there's just something a little bit elusive here. And the Hermit, in this case, I would say, takes what happens to him on a daily basis or on a particular day and digests that information so he can understand it more. So there can be things happening out in the world that people are talking about that maybe you need to kind of digest. Maybe you have to find space within to really think about it, digest it, and come to your own conclusions. And you have the Queen of Swords there. So yeah, the Queen of Swords is definitely a critical eye. She's not one for nonsense. She doesn't listen to nonsense. She's very practical, very pragmatic, and wants clarity. She also can cut someone or something off that she just doesn't think belongs in her world, is worthy of her energy. So you might be doing some of that as well. That can be people and places and situations, worldly events that you just don't want to deal with, or you want to get it clear. And again, with that moon, there is that elusive sort of energy and fears that we're dealing with. But the Queen wants clarity. And I don't think she'll stop until she gets it. That is my Virgo card, just so you know. As is the Hermit. So maybe there is a Virgo around you, or you are really taking on the energy of Virgo. You have the Two of Pentacles as a result. The Two of Pentacles is juggling. It's a light juggle. It's change, right? It's the Lord of harmonious change. So I do think that two is often very much about decision making. But in this case, I think you don't want to make that decision. You kind of want to juggle both of them. You want to see if you can do both, or understand both sides of the coin, or deal with both situations. But it is a juggling, and it should be light. It's not terribly heavy. Even though you can see that sometimes keeping both balls in the air lead to some emotional um, ups and downs, as you can see by the water in the background of the Two of Pentacles. And with that, you have the Six of Swords. This is moving on. This is resignation. It's the feeling of that's the way it is. It isn't any different. Let's just move on. And interestingly enough, they're moving on to calmer waters. So you can see this juggling thing and keeping all the balls in the air, right? Leaves some pretty tumultuous waters. And here you're leaving the tumultuous waters to something more sanguine, something a little more calmer. And I do think that you want this. I think you want to find the calmness in a storm. She's right in the middle of the storm. Her head is clear, but everything else is kind of stuck in that storm. Or she wants a clear head while she's stuck in that storm. So these can also be fears and things that you just don't see clearly just yet with the moon. But I do think that at the end of the 2, possibly 4 weeks, but I'm going to say I feel 2 because of that 2 of Pentacles, things are going to start to calm down a little bit more. The chaos will calm down. The conversation will shift. The world events might also shift. And in the meantime, with the Hermit card, you are just taking it all in and digesting it and coming to your own wise, wise conclusions. Especially with that Queen of Swords there. She wants all the proper information, not just opinions of people, facts and figures. This could also be somebody around you. Okay. So in your dealings with the world and community and your smaller community, meaning family or your family unit, however broad or small that is to you, there are probably some people in situations that are a little unstable with the Five of Pentacles, and this can be financial or can be health-wise. But these are challenges that we face together, which makes perfect sense with the Ten of Pentacles, because we're all in this together, right? As a world, as a community, as a family, these are things that we handle together. But there can be people who sort of would prefer to go in the corner and lick their wounds, as opposed to asking for help or reaching out to find answers. This is a couple that are walking around in the snow and the cold when there is a window that beckons them to come in and find warmth and to be with other people. And so it's that kind of energy of facing challenges together and not being too proud to ask for help. Or giving help, when help is necessary. You may have to look to your community, whatever that is for you. Again, it could just be within the family unit, but these are people who feel like they don't belong somewhere. They feel left out in the cold. But you are the ray of sunshine. So you might be helping other people deal with their situation, their fears, bringing your wisdom and your light, right? You're carrying a star, which is, for me, wisdom. And illuminating that onto other people. Perhaps you figure out the answer. You've accumulated all this information, and now you'd like to disseminate what you have uncovered, your truth. But the sun is healing. It is being in the spotlight, even though you have the Hermit card there, which is somebody who would prefer to be on their own. At some point, they come out to tell the world what they have understood from the situation and can help enlighten other people with it. And that's definitely the sun card. The sun is enlightenment. It's a rebirth. It's feeling good and happy again. It's definitely leaving this situation behind, very possibly because you've uncovered the illusion, because you've gathered enough information, and you could be in a spotlight with the sun card. You could be very popular, in demand, very social, wanting to be out and enjoying yourself. And spring is coming, so maybe the weather is getting warmer, and this also brightens your mood. That's also possible here with the sun. But when the sun shines on any situation, I mean, you have the sun and the moon, right? So for me, that's cycles. But it's also understanding the darkness, understanding shadow self. And that's exactly what the hermit would do. And when you understand shadow self or your fears, it doesn't have a hold on you anymore. Especially when you face them, which I think the Queen of Swords can absolutely do. The Sun, good card. Ah, very nice. Very nice. Two of Pentacles, Six of Swords, and the Nine of Pentacles. The Nine of Pentacles is going to tell me that you are a strong, independent individual who, through your own hard work, creates a luxurious, wonderful life. But it's that independence. It's that feeling of luxury. It's workmanship. It is taking pride in what we do, right? So workmanship. We've really understood the situation. We've really looked at both sides, the shadow self, the higher self, and can feel kind of like we belong now somewhere. It's almost the opposite of this. It's a good card. It's a really good card. In fact, it's one of my favorites. So a strong, independent person, through their own hard work, have created the life that they want. Now, a lot of people will say this is inheritance, and it's very possible here because it's not a new orchard of grapes. It's an established one. But you could have done the establishing. But with the two inheritance cards, you may well have an inheritance coming your way, which could really alleviate this, or these could be the people or the person who isn't well, and therefore you receive inheritance, a lucky break, that kind of thing. But both 10 and 9 are inheritance cards, so that can be a likelihood for somebody. I like this because you start off with the Moon card, your fears, and you figure it out. You really figure it out, and this could be through discussion. The 10 of Pentacles can be, it is communication, so it could be through psychiatry, psychologists, psychotherapy, that kind of thing, where you can alleviate some of your emotional fears and really find a new rebirth. And something that gives you a steadier, stronger feeling, like you're a little more rooted, a little more grounded. So I would say this must have been a difficult period, Taurus, because you're rarely not grounded. What does Spirit want you to know? You have the Temperance card. Things are changing. It's a slow change, and you have to be patient, and that kind of goes along with the Two of Pentacles as well. So I think the trajectory you have of the Ten of Pentacles and the Nine of Pentacles is definitely going to happen for you. I just think because the Two of Pentacles is sort of like we're juggling finances until we get there, you know? And the Temperance card is saying there's a refinement going on an internal level, but very much also on an external level as well. And I mean, you have the two opposing forces anyway. You have the moon and you have the sun. And those things have to find their balance. And that's exactly what happens with the Temperance card. Be patient with other people, be patient with yourself, as there is a refinement going on. And I think you're going to find some peace. I think you're going to be really feeling a little bit more peaceful by the end of the 2 weeks, 2 to 4 weeks, but I feel like it will be 2. And that doesn't mean that that stays forever. I mean, you have to work at life, don't you? But I think it looks good. And if there's financial worries, I also think you won't have to deal with that too much longer. We are at the end of a cycle, right? And I know this is the beginning of something, but I mean a larger cycle that we're ending. I believe it's a 20-year cycle. Plus, Saturn is moving. So when Saturn moves, everything does. He's a big gun. Okay, I hope this has been helpful. I will return in 2 weeks with a full moon reading. I do dailies. I'm also going to put that journaling video out as well this week. So, thank you for listening. Take good care. Enjoy.